darkness doesn't care what time it is. But you should. When the shadows grow long and the investigation begins, trust the timepiece that's built to keep pace with every moment. Lorayo watches. Combine timeless style with dependable performance, making them the perfect companion, whether you're in the studio, on an investigation, or simply living life on your own terms. The mysteries of the unknown may never be solved, but you'll always know what time it is. Lorayo Watches, proud sponsor of the Unholy Podcast and the Unholy Broadcast.
From haunted houses to cursed artifacts, from whispers in the dark to battles you'll never read in scripture. This is the Unholy Podcast, hosted by Doug Owen, author, investigator, and survivor of one of the most harrowing real-life hauntings ever documented. Each week, Doug pulls back the veil between this world and the next, sharing stories that aren't fiction, because he lived them. Prepare yourself. The silence is over.
And welcome to another episode of the Unholy Podcast. Now, I'm your host, paranormal investigator and author Doug Owen. And tonight, we welcome a very special guest to the show. Joining us is Empress Amy Sparkle, a clairvoyant who has dedicated her life to exploring intuition, spiritual communication, psychic development, and the unseen energies that many believe surround us every day. The topics of psychic abilities, mediumship, intuition, and spiritual experiences are often met with both fascination and skepticism. Some people believe these abilities are gifts that connect us to something beyond our physical world, while others search for a logical explanation behind these experiences. Tonight, we're going to dive into Amy's journey, how her abilities developed, what it means to be clairvoyant, her experiences communicating with the spirit, the challenges she's faced, and what people she's encountered that misunderstand psychic phenomena. Amy, welcome to the Unholy Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Doug. I'm excited to be here.
I'm very excited. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So for those who may be hearing about you for the very first time, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you first discovered that your experiences were different from those around you.
So I've been able to see spirits since a child, since tiny, as a lot of us clairvoyants do. And basically, I was brought up in a strict Christian home. So it's when I was trying to tell people that I was seeing this little girl that was in the room and I was chatting away, people just say, oh, it's her imaginary friend. And I couldn't understand that because to me, she was real. She was stood there. She was actually there. I knew her to be real. Like, she looked like to me them. So I tried to explain to them this and stuff in child manner as you can. And when I was about 6, 7, our vicar / reverend, because I went to 2 different churches, turned around and tried to explain to me, no, what you're seeing is the devil. You're not allowed to speak to them. You need to stop speaking to them. And sadly, that did close my gift down slightly because I then got scared. And then at 14, I found witchcraft. As most of us teens do, we start playing with stuff. And that's when I found out what attachments were. And I remember meeting him. It was awful because I'd done a Ouija board, as most teens do. And that sort of then spiraled into, this is a gift. No one else can do it. There is light and dark here. There's not just darkness. But sadly, the name is because I had to, when I first come out of the closet, stay hidden from my very strict Christian family. But I put my real name in there now.
Okay, oh, terrific. So many people say that they've had unusual experiences as children. and they dismissed it. But looking back, what do you think was the earliest signs that you might possess this clairvoyant ability?
So my first memory, I have an amazing memory, absolutely amazing. My first memory of a spirit was 18 months old. And that was, I just woke up from a nap, was getting out of, climbing out of the bed, being naughty, as the children do. And I remember talking to this lady, and I can still remember clearly as day that she looked like the photos that my step-grandfather had on the wall. And as I was doing this, and my mum was coming up to get me, she literally looked at me and went. So it's like she knew she was a spirit, and she was telling me, don't talk to her while they're there. Don't mention that she's there. So for me, it was sort of that experience that sort of made me realize there was something different as I got older and I remembered it. But when I saw Mary, which was my main spirit throughout my life, I didn't really understand that she was different from everyone else.
Okay, that's amazing. That is just incredible. So at the young age of 18 months, you remember that it was something unusual that wasn't normal. I see. Okay. So for listeners out there who really don't understand the terminology, how would you explain the difference between clairvoyance, intuition, psychic ability, and then mediumship? Can you give us your understanding and explain what those are?
So mediumship for me personally, I'll start with that one because that is the easiest to explain, was destroyed in the 1800s. That term was. And not just that, we're not in the middle of anything. They are here on our plane with us. So we're not in the middle of a veil. We're not in the middle of anything. They can be in our energy field at any time. So for me, I never settled on mediumship because of that, because I was like, yeah, that's not right. With me, psychic as well. Psychic, I do have premonitions. I do tarot, so I can give guidance for the future. But for me, psychic, I always go back to the Greek sort of meaning, which, as you can see, I worship the Greek gods. And I go back to that, and I think this is something that they used to say was set in stone. So you could see the future, and that's the way it was. That's what psychic meant. And that is not what we're doing. Clairvoyance. Now, clairvoyance in French means clear seeing. And now that is what we're doing. We're going to give you the guidance of every path that you can see. We can clearly see energy. We can clearly feel energy. Intuition is very different. So when people put clairvoyance in with intuition, I do sit there and think, no, that's not quite right, because everyone has intuition. When you're walking along and you've got your purse and you pull it in closer because you're scared, you don't know what's scaring you, but you're just pulling your purse in that little bit closer. You can't quite feel it. Everyone has intuition, even the animals. When the deer puts its head up in the field and it starts looking around because it knows that tiger's watching it. And this is why intuition, everyone has. That is a gift, no matter who you are, old, young, newborn, animal, everyone has.
Okay. All right. That's amazing. That's terrific. And that's a beautiful explanation. So when the information comes to you, what does that experience feel like? What does it actually feel like inside you? Can you describe it?
Oh, that's a difficult one, because this is actually a conversation me and my hubby had just recently. Because for me, I've always had the gift, so I don't know much different in between it. For me, it's like I have to tell the person. So it's like an excited child at the party that's waiting to blow the candles and they're jumping on the spot.
Okay.
That is how I feel. I have to tell that person, this is what's going to happen, or grandma and granddad are here. I have to tell them. And it can be a little bit frustrating because I will just blurt out and interrupt. I'm a nightmare for it because of it. But the only time I find myself personally, the hardest one to deal with, because the light makes us feel lighter, so as if we're floating in the water. Whereas if it's a spirit which is earthbound, we can actually feel their death. So that is one of the hardest experience. I did a reading live on TikTok 2 years ago now, and this lady come through, and I was like, why am I like chest pains and I'm choking on blood? Like, I'm choking. And she was like, she literally started sobbing. She couldn't talk anymore. So she went down into the chat, and I says, look, I need an explanation. Why am I feeling this before I bring them in closer? Because I don't want to constantly feel this. And she explained that her brother was murdered and he was stabbed in the heart, and it actually caused him to vomit blood. And I was just like, oh. And we actually feel that. So we feel death. We can feel someone's health as well. So it's like we have two different bodies in some sense. It's quite trippy.
Yeah. So you felt the physical sensation, but when you receive the information, do you see images, hear words, receive emotions, or does it come through some other method?
So it comes through as all them.
Okay.
So sometimes I may see an image. It depends on the spirit and how the spirit wants to communicate. So every spirit is different, the same as we cannot see every spirit. So this is a misconception. If that spirit doesn't want us to see it, we ain't seeing it. But it comes through different with everyone. So I may not understand what they're saying, so they'll send me an image, or they may just send me an image so I can then describe it, or they will talk to me and it's really strange. It's either in my pineal gland, which is in the center of our head, or I actually can feel my eardrum vibrating. Oh, wow. Like, I've been tested for tinnitus, because I was like, I went for a phase where I went tested for everything: schizophrenia, bipolar, tinnitus, because I was like, there's got to be something wrong. And it was sort of, yeah. So I've had that. We have that. And then also the energy is the biggest feeling for anyone, which is basically even someone with strong intuition can feel the energy. You'll know this one, Doug. When you walk into a paranormal place and you have that really strong negative energy, and it just feels like your chest is crushing and you feel like someone's pressing down on your shoulders. We get that, apparently, according to my hubby, when we've discussed it, 5 times stronger.
Wow.
So it's like,
that is intense.
Yeah, there's some places where I can't walk in them because it's just so strong.
Oh, I can imagine that. So when you meet a person, do you ever, do you feel people's energies? You have that intuition times 10. Do you feel energies? And when you do, have you ever experienced somebody that you would say is malevolent, or somebody who's actually evil?
So I see souls, so I'm pretty blessed. I don't just have to see that, because I see souls, which I see them in white, grey and black. And I heard that then as well. One of the hardest things was when I meet someone and they can have a black soul, which means they are basically very much about the darkness. Like, they love to cause as much misery as they can. We met someone last year, funny enough, while doing this, and my husband fortunately knows me. He's always with me just in case something happens. And he literally took one look at me and he went, "We need to walk away, don't we?" And I went, "Yeah." I says, "They are literally on serial killer level." I went, "They are a true psychopath. Can we walk away, please?" And he just looked at me, looked at the person, and he just went, "She don't want to know you." And we walked away. I've refused readings, refunded, because when I've connected with their energy, it's so dark. I've gone, no, I'm pulling my energy back. I don't want that in mine. So yeah, you can feel it through energy. can be a little bit disturbing sometimes when you feel and see their thoughts, because sometimes our spirit guides will give us like an image of their thoughts as if to say, look, you need to remove yourself for your safety. And it can be a bit disturbing at times. Always carry selenite.
Okay. All right. So that's the protection that you carry. Okay.
Yes.
So a lot of people out there, a lot of people now with the internet, TikTok, everything out there, a lot of people claim psychic abilities. So in your opinion, what separates genuine experiencers from wishful thinking, or even worse, the people that do the cold readings, those people who can, and they hit or miss, you know what I mean, the cold reading people. So what separates genuine from those people?
We won't do it. 90% of us genuine will not do the sending out cold readings, because I don't mean it rudely. You cannot generalize on the energy.
Right.
You cannot. I don't know who's going to see that video, nothing. I tried it when I first started, and I realized I just don't understand cold readings. I don't understand how they can work. And it got that bad that just to go viral, I literally just turned the cards over. I used to sit there and just turn the cards over and then I just went, no, this isn't me being me. And I stopped them completely. I've now stopped doing live readings on TikTok because there's too much darkness on there. So most real will not do it. Most of us which are real, and stuff like that, will keep to one small groups because our energy will overwhelm, like terribly. Our energy can just overwhelm quite badly. Number two, there is a few real ones on TikTok, but they're not working for the light, they're working for the darkness. See, this is another thing. I had a row with one on TikTok because she was telling someone it was their grandfather, and there behind her was a red-eyed mimic.
Oh,
so I was literally like, that is not your grandfather talking to this woman. Stop now. Do not allow it in. I got a message 3 months later, can you help me? And I just went, no. And she went, why? And I went, I'm not getting involved in this situation, because she was an influencer, she had quite a big following. I said, because then if you then post it on TikTok, that's going to bring me into a mediumship war. And I says, I'm not getting involved in that. I says, I choose the light. I warned you to stop the reading. I said to you, it needs to stop now. You didn't listen. You continued listening to the reading. And sadly, now you've got a mimic active in your home, which I know sounds really cruel, but I did that.
No, absolutely. I mean, you give advice, people can either take it or they can leave it. And, since you're working for the light, they should probably listen and take your advice, you would think. So, when you say the mimic that's there, what in your experience, what is it that might happen to this person if they continue?
So they will go down a depressive route, what shows as depression, and a mimic will mimic your thoughts as well. So I just want you guys to know this. It will mimic your thoughts. So it'll make it sound like it's your voice. There is a way to tell the difference, because a mimic's voice sounds a bit more echoey than your own voice in your head. So there is a way to tell the difference, but sadly by then they've messed with you so much, 90% of the time you ain't going to recognize it. They may do something simple such as move your keys to another area and make you feel like you're going insane. Something like they shout your name in your children's voices and you'll go to them. Something knock-ins as well. So knock-ins is another one. So they knock the door and you go and open it. Do not ever open the door, check who's there first, please. That is one of the biggest laws in any form of spirituality. and the reason why I say that is because they can then invite their friends, which then makes it even more torturous and stuff like that. They will then take you down the depressive route, because what we need to remember is they're working for the darkness. If the darkness can keep your soul here, earthbound, that's what it wants to do. It doesn't want you to go into the light. And the problem is there, one of the best ways is to play on your fears. So it may also then start putting images in your head. And I'm not talking about, the thoughts that we get as mums and dads of our child suddenly may get injured. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about thoughts that seem real. Like it's actually happened. You know, when you get up in the middle of the night and you're suddenly panicking, like they do that sort of thing, like give you such vivid dreams that you wake up and you actually think your child may be dead, or you think a loved one may be dead. They just sort of like play on all your fears, like every single fear. Like you may constantly check your bank account because they're telling you that you're going to have a payment of like £500,000 taken from your bank account or something. And this is the thing, they play on all your fears, and then your soul goes further and further dark. And then what will happen is, sadly, you'll come an earthbound spirit. Majority of the time you'll come an earthbound, which is not good.
Okay. Well, thank you for that explanation. That is very, very illuminating, and word to the wise, listen. So what is one experience that you had that still stands out as impossible to explain through ordinary means, that you just can't explain it, but what's that experience that you've had, just the one that stands out in your mind?
So the one that stands out in my mind was, my daughter was about 4, and she's actually more gifted than me, but she refuses to use her gift because of this experience. So this is why it stands out in mind. And we lived at up north in the north of England, and literally sat on her bed was a man, and I could see it clear as day in the mirror. And I just walked straight in and I went, "I can see you," like that, screamed at it, and he just disappeared. And she said, "Mummy, that man's my friend." I went, "No, he's not." I says, "Don't talk to him, tell him to go away when you next see him." And at the time, I'm only 24, so I don't know how to do all the extra stuff yet. I've not learned any of that. And I was really, really worried. I was like, what am I meant to do? How do I protect her and stuff like that? Then we had to move, because a couple of days later, like you do, we were in the bath with the kids, and all of a sudden something ran past the window and then came back and just stood there staring at us. And my daughter went, "Mummy, it's the man, but he's," and just dived into my arms. And I couldn't see what she could see. All I could see was a black figure. I screamed hubby, because I thought, oh, she must mean it's a real person out there, like, because you can't see through it clearly. He went out there and he says, "No one's there." And I went, "Are you sure?" And he went, "Yeah, no one's there." As he come back in, and this was his first experience of a ghost. Like before then, he was a skeptic. He was like, even with me, he was like, "Yeah, whatever." Like, yeah, you know things, but so when he actually then came back in, he went, "No, there's no one out there. I don't know what's going on. It must be in all your imaginations." And I was like, all of us seeing the same thing? Not sure. And it sort of started a row a little bit. And then as he turned in the window, it was stood there again. And he literally fell back into the bath. Oh. So that is the experience that always sticks there, because it was his first time and the girl's reaction to it.
Okay.
I should laugh at it.
Well,
I know
that is a comical story, but it's also terrifying. That these things seem to target people from the light, like they report to work, grab a cup of coffee, they get a piece of paper. Okay, I've got to go target Amy and her family. So it's almost like an assignment sometimes, and you wonder what the end goal is.
The end goal is 100%. So at the minute, it's got about in between 93 and 98% of the earth. The goal is 100%, because the darkness can't control animals. So when you put all the animals together and all the humans would equal the same. So that would actually yin and yang in the darkness favor if it got 100%. So that is the goal.
So the goal is just basically conquest to win. Okay. So when you've done a reading, have you ever received information that proved later to be so accurate that you both left absolutely just shocked? Anything surprise you?
All the time. Okay. I love reading for new people, because when they sit there and they're really, really shocked, I just love it. I know it sounds really weird, but I do it all the time. One of the ones that really, really stands out for me is a premonition I had. So I was already meant to be viral. I was meant to be bigger than what I was, but I actually pulled back. And I told my girls that when my mods on TikTok at the time, when I was doing TikTok lives, I says, whatever happens, this name comes in, let them comment, let them talk, let them say what they want, but I will not be giving them a reading. And they said, why? And they didn't believe me. They were like, yeah, whatever, this name's going to come in, because I dreamt it. And literally this name came in, and they were like all in the WhatsApp group going, what the heck? The name's come in. This is a newbie. She didn't even know this person. What the heck? So I'm watching the WhatsApp group as well as watching the live. And she put the question I told them she was going to put. And I says to her, I will tell you now I'm not answering. You know the answer. You need to leave your husband. But I am not giving you a tarot reading on it. And she literally went, that's unfair. You're giving everyone else a tarot reading. And I says, I'm not giving you a tarot reading. Now, the premonition was, I informed her that she had to leave her husband, otherwise he's going to end up doing serious damage. And I got attacked 6 months later and was put in hospital for 6 months in a coma.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, I couldn't. The girls were really shocked because they've seen me do guidance and and stuff's come true for them and stuff like that so many times, but they've never seen it in such detail like that. I could actually give names, I could put what she was going to ask and all that. So it was sort of like, for me, that still holds a bit of a trigger as well on TikTok. So that's why I don't do lives there anymore.
Okay. No, that is terrifying. And you've got to maintain your own safety first, your own health and safety. So that's very important.
Exactly. This is the thing. And in the day of social media, it's very hard to keep your safety secure. It's one of the reasons why I used a show name, was for one of my children doesn't want to be known. She's severely autistic. And one day I was out with her and one of my followers and I went, don't you dare. And I was like, just don't, because she would have flipped out. And at that point I was a bit like, I can't even go out with my daughter because I've got that popular on TikTok. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is not there.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. So, many listeners are interested in spirit communication. So do you believe that the spirits around us, everybody, are actively trying to communicate with us, but maybe we just can't hear them?
No.
So
the way that, sadly, in the paranormal world, this is sort of come my little bit of expertise that I've been trying to teach everyone. Sadly, in the paranormal world, it's one of the most frustrating things. They keep it to the three main bits of ghosts, very much along the way that the Catholic Church is. And the way that I explain it is the Catholic Church is too narrow-minded. There's at least 173 different forms of ghosts. You have your ones which stand in the corner and just stand there looking around as if will someone finally help me? You have your ones that want to communicate with you. You have your mimics. Then you have your, I call them daemon. Then you have the Catholic Church calls them demons, and you have them, which were once human spirits. Then you have them. Then you have, so there's so many different forms. You do have spirit guides. Everyone has a spirit guide, which will be around you trying to communicate with you. They are the thing that makes you go, oh, actually, I want to go right. I don't want to go left, but I don't know why. They are the thing that makes you do that. Or they are the thing that I had it the other day where I was talking about my dog, which is very reactive. And I was like, I need to start walking her again. And then all of a sudden, all over my TikTok was dogs attacks. So I was like, okay, maybe I don't. I'm listening. I'm listening. It's okay. And this is the thing that I think they do it as in that format. They've learned how to use social media more than we realise.
Oh, okay. So what do you think happens after death? What's your own, based on your experiences, what do you personally believe with the afterlife?
So my personal belief is it depends on you. So if you are someone who wants to be in the light, you are someone who cares for others, you are doing stuff towards the light as much as you can, you will go to the light. But most ghosts and demons start off with regrets, start off with fears, start off with a lot of emotional imbalance. So I believe in 8 frequencies. I'm a massive fan of frequencies. So you have your 8 frequencies. Now 7 of them are your chakra frequencies. They are your earth frequencies. So if they're not in line, then what happens is when we die, we listen to them more than what we do our 8 frequency, which is our soul frequency. So if we're not listening to our soul frequency, we won't recognize the frequency of the light and how to get home. So then that causes a bit of an issue there because, you know, Hermes will come for you, which is what my belief is. Hermes will come for you and you'll be like, no, run away, he's a monster, you know, because you're still listening to your yellow chakra and you're fearing everything and, you know, stuff like that, which is why a lot of the demons that I actually see, as I said to you earlier, red chakra, red eyes. So I know that's his red chakra, which is his grounding. He wasn't grounded when he passed. There was no balance in his life when he passed and stuff like that. So it actually helps in some ways because I can pass them over if they're stuck here. I can pass them over, and I am a bit of a nightmare for sticking them to a crystal and forcing them.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take a short break. And we'll be back right after this. You're listening and watching the Unholy Podcast with your host, Doug Owen. Tonight's guest, Clairvoyant and spiritual practitioner, Empress Amy Sparkle. Don't go anywhere.
Millions of people turn to search engines like Google asking, what is life insurance? But they are ignoring the most terrifying phantom of all, the dark entity of financial ruin. When you vanish into the spirit world, do not leave your family to be haunted by bills they simply cannot pay. Banish the uncertainty, contact a professional, secure their future with the Don M. Adams Insurance Agency. Serving Idaho, Oregon, and Washington, call 208-955-6370. That's 208-955-6370.
First, there was the Unholy Silence, the terrifying, true memoir. Next, we brought you deeper into the mysteries of the paranormal with the Unholy Podcast. Now comes the Unholy Broadcast, a live radio show discussing the paranormal and listeners' true accounts of experiences with things that are unexplained. Unexplainedradio.com is where you'll find the broadcast. Visit authorDougOwen.com or unexplainedradio.com for more. Tune in, listen, watch the podcast, read the book, and beware the unholy. When the world goes quiet, the unknown speaks. Welcome to Unexplained Radio, your home for the paranormal, the mysterious, and the unexplained. From chilling ghost encounters to cryptids, UFOs, and the darkest corners of human experience. This is where real stories come alive, featuring a powerful lineup of shows, including the Unholy Podcast, bringing you raw, first-hand accounts from the edge of reality. Listen now at unexplainedradio.com. Unexplained Radio, where the truth is never what it seems, and the silence is never empty. The experiences discussed on the Unholy Podcast are not fiction. They are drawn from lived events. Doug's first-hand account of a sustained haunting as documented in the book, The Unholy Silence. The book details the investigation, the psychological toll, and the impact on his family, offering a deeper look at what happens when paranormal events move beyond theory and into daily life. The Unholy Silence is available worldwide through Amazon in paperback, hardback, and ebook formats. For those who want the full account, the story begins there.
All right, welcome back to the Unholy Podcast. We're talking tonight with Empress Amy Sparkle about clairvoyance, psychic experiences, spirit communication, and the mysteries that continue to challenge our understanding of reality. So, Amy, let me ask you. So, when you encounter a skeptic, and that's a heavy part of any conversation involving the paranormal. I get it. I have it. I experience it. When you encounter a skeptic, what questions do these skeptics ask that you believe are fair and reasonable? Not insulting, but fair.
Sadly, I've not come across a skeptic which has done that yet. I would love for it. But I usually twist it on them. So because they don't ask these questions, and I love these questions being asked because I love teaching, they never do. So for me, I think that's why I'm quite excited, because I'm like, someone's finally got the right questions to ask. So I'm quite excited about it. So for me, the actual reaction I have is, come on, sit down for a reading.
Okay.
And by the end of it, they're like, you must be a body reader. That's what I get then. I must know how to read their body. I must know how to read their language. I must have been on their Facebook. And then I'm like, that's okay. If something happens, what I've said's going to happen, let me know. And they're just like, oh, I didn't expect that. So I sort of just don't argue with them and just let them to their own beliefs, because we are allowed to. I think the problem, because one of the things that actually helps us to be in the light is our own thoughts. So not the thoughts of others, is actually processing our own thoughts. So I do allow that, because I just sit there going, if I argue with them, they're just going to want to argue back with me, because a lot of them are very negative people and they are very dark souled, like a lot of them are. And that is just purely because of their upbringing, their experiences, and stuff like that. The only scientific, which sounds really, really weird. So a lot of the times they'll say to me, yeah, but you can't see that part of the light, so why are you saying that? And I go, well, actually, we can't even see 99% of the light, like more than 99% of the light. And they look at me and go, what? And I go, the human eye can't see more than 99% of the light. So what doesn't say that I've got a special ability to see extra light? And they just look at me and they're like, a bit like colorblind. And they just go, and it's sort of like, yeah. So I'm very scientific. So any skeptics come to me with science facts, I will research them and figure them out.
Perfect. So you receive messages, you can hear all of these spirits speaking with you. So how do you discern? Yeah, it must sound like just a bunch of bombardment, like noise, and people, all talking in the room at the same time. How do you focus on one voice, and do you ask them to wait their turn, or do you just take all the information and then kind of separate it out and analyze it later?
So that depends on the spirit again. So if it's my spirit guides, I can take all the information. I'm like, hold up, guys, let me answer this bit first. And they are pretty respectful, and they'll let me take all the information that they're giving me, and then I can then do it as I need to. With spirits, it's a bit harder if I'm at a paranormal investigation or something like that. It's a bit harder. Sadly, they will literally bombard me. It'll either be bombard me or completely ignore me. It'll be one or the other. I don't get it either way, which can be overwhelming. So we do have a lot of popping outside breaks during these because I need that time away. And the way to explain it for people to understand is it's not like schizophrenia. So I found that out. It's more like ADHD. And it's like you've got about 50 thoughts going off in your head at the same time.
Okay.
And you don't know which one to process first. Now that I use meditation and stuff like that as well to be able to process which one needs to come through, why they need to come through. And also I'm very strict with them. So I do make them like wait in line quite a lot. So I will say to them, no, that's that person's turn to speak, you can wait. I do get hit by spirits quite a lot as well because they're not happy about waiting, but
okay.
Tough luck.
Okay, I gotcha. So have you ever had an encounter where your abilities just appeared to fail you, just absolutely fail?
So I don't think it's exactly fail, what I would call it fail, but when I'm around true dark spirits, I get a lot of misinformation. They make sure I get a lot of misinformation, and they make sure that I am confused about the information they're giving me. So it will be the truth, but you have to sort of connect the dots, and that at the time when you're doing stuff does feel like a failure, especially when I'm recording for YouTube and people will go, oh, well, that's the wrong information. But when you actually watch it later and you realize actually this isn't the wrong information, it's just the format that has been given it. An example at the minute, I've been doing the old bank a lot, absolutely love the place. So I've been up there a lot and I kept getting sister. Didn't know why at all. They kept saying sister, and I was like, I weren't any of your sisters in past life. That's where my head straight away went. Couldn't understand it at all. Well, basically the manager of the bank, caretaker manager, was called John Colson, which is my sister's surname is Colson. So for me, he was trying to tell me we've got the wrong name. But rather than say you've got the wrong name, he kept giving me hints. And this is a thing, because they don't want you to know the truth, because a name means everything to them, as well as their energy. Like as soon as you get the name, you can pass them on quite easily. So this is the problem. This is why paranormal investigators, you should not be given your name when you walk into a building.
Do you believe everyone possesses some level of psychic intuition, or do you think it's a gift maybe reserved for a small number of people?
A bit of both is the way I want to word it. I believe that everyone, they choose who they see them. So when it comes to spirits, they choose who sees them. It's not down to us at all. I wish it was down to us. It makes so much life so much easier. It's unbelievable, but it is completely down to them. But when it comes to tarot and stuff like that, using tools, I personally believe you have to be gifted, because yes, okay, everyone can pick up a tarot deck and read it, but to get what I get, which is I get visions, the cards actually move for me, and a mixture of all sorts of things happen for me while I'm doing tarot readings. That for me personally, that is one of the most important sort of things to understand, but not everyone is going to be able to do it. A bit like if not everyone's going to be able to fix your car.
Right. Okay. That's perfect. That is actually quite brilliant. I can see that, and I think the viewers and the listeners can absolutely get that, because you might be able to lift the hood and dump some oil in, like everybody might have that ability, but to pull the transmission and rebuild the engine, that would take a certain skill. That is a beautifully put answer. That is amazing, and yeah, that makes sense. What advice would you give to somebody who believes that they're experiencing psychic experience or psychic?
Get hold of someone that's experienced as soon as you can. And when I say experienced, I don't mean the COVID witches and COVID that are coming out the closets. I don't mean them. I mean someone like myself, 22 years experience within the field. Like, I've been a witch since 1999. Oh, actually longer than that. Oh, I've just made myself feel old. We're going to pretend I'm still 22 years, okay? Get someone that is experienced, that understands what you're going through, that can actually help you fight this thing. I could never, 5 years into learning witchcraft, learning how to protect myself, help someone psychically. I would never have been able to do it. So it does disturb me how many of these COVID witches are coming out, as I call them, and COVID clairvoyants and mediums, etc. Get someone experienced, for one. Number two, be honest with that person. So, have you done a Ouija board? All of that. Honesty is the best policy in this situation. If they're that good, they'll know anyway. Number three is, if you are also feeling this, don't just work with someone on a spiritual level, work with a doctor, because we have the concern then of spiritual psychosis, which is a very, very dangerous format to actually go under.
Okay. Can you explain spiritual psychosis? What is that for those who may not know?
So spiritual psychosis is actually one of my biggest concerns at the minute, because I can see it, a lot of people getting it, because they are believing these people that everyone can have an ability. Sadly, what you're doing is you're then opening yourself up to then the demons and the dark side to come in. And what they do is they then make you believe you've got an ability, and all of a sudden your life's going wrong. I see people say, oh, I started doing witchcraft, I've had to go back to Christianity because I don't understand, my life started to go wrong, because you were following the wrong people. So what happens, you open yourself up slowly, for one. Two, there's this massive thing about doing drugs. I hope I'm okay saying that, Doug.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's this massive thing around it at the minute, doing these special teas and stuff like that. All of this, if you're not brought yourself up slowly, I didn't see my first person that in the format of the way they died till I was 15, and that messed me up. Like, that messed me up. Now, I've been seeing ghosts all my life, and yet at 15 it messed me up. So at 15, I saw my first dark spirit, and I couldn't get over the way it made me feel, and the fact that I knew it was there. I knew the way it looked, but I couldn't actually see it. I have no memory of it, which is really weird, I know. But I remember all the feeling. I remember looking at it. It's really strange. And this is the thing that worries me, because then what happens is you go into spiritual psychosis, which means then you get obsessed either with a certain religion or the dead. We see this a lot with gothic teens. So sort of like where they get obsessed with vampires and stuff like that. That to me sometimes can be spiritual psychosis. Like they're getting that obsessiveness, worryingly obsessiveness, to be honest. Okay, that makes perfect sense, and yeah, I agree. And many people out there, they report that they've seen shadows, hearing voices, sensing presences, or experiencing super vivid dreams. How can the average person determine whether they're experiencing genuine spiritual activity or something with a more natural explanation? Doesn't matter. I don't care if you're experienced one or the other. I want you to get that house protected. I want protection bags on the front and the back door handles. I want lavender next to your front gate with rosemary. I want it next to your back gate. I want that whole place protected. I want selenite all over the house. Get that place locked down. Because if you've seen one, you will welcome more than one. They're a parasite.
Okay. Interesting. That's good advice. So what is the biggest misconception about clairvoyants and psychic practitioners? What do you think the public sees, or what do you think they misunderstand?
I think for me personally, the biggest misconception is the fact that we see and hear and feel. We see and hear all ghosts. We don't. They choose us. It's really frustrating. And like, because I will leave spirits in the light. I will never pull a spirit out the light to do a mediumship or anything like that. I will never ever pull one out because they are in the light. We should let them rest. They've done their time. Why do we want to bring them back to prison?
Right.
You know, they've done their time for doing nothing. We don't want to bring them back to prison. So I leave them there. So for me, it's sort of like, they will come to you if they need you. They will come to you and tell you what you need to know, which is why a lot of the times they come through dreams if we're not listening and stuff like that. I think that is one of the biggest misconceptions, is that a clairvoyant can speak to any dead that they want.
Okay.
Sadly, we can't. Make life easier if we could.
Right. So throughout your journey, how have your beliefs changed from where you started to where you are today?
Wow, that is massive. So as it says, I was brought up strict Christian. So my beliefs were that my gifts were from the devil. So I punished myself a lot until I was about 14.
Okay.
And I was just like, this is not okay. I need to ignore it and stuff like that. So I did punish myself a lot. My beliefs at 14, I was introduced to Wicca. I ran from Wicca quite fast and just worshipped the moon goddess and the moon goddess and the sun god, which then I later found out was thanks to my daughter being born. My autistic daughter, she's obsessed with Greek mythology, and I was just like, why are you so obsessed with Greek mythology at like 3 years old? This is not normal. Like, you should be playing with trains or something, you know. But no, she was upset, or dollies. She was obsessed with Greek mythology at 3 years old. And that was sort of my sign to start learning about Greek mythology. And then about 10 years ago was my first visit from Artemis. So I was like, that's why I had a daughter obsessed with Greek mythology, so I can learn about it before I actually convert. So yeah, and then I went into Greek mythology, that actually their understanding of the dead and their understanding of the way the world works is so much better than even ours with science.
Okay.
And there's a reason why physics is mainly based on most of the ancient Greek world.
That is true, right? The equations and everything else, absolutely. So, Amy, tell us, if there was one message you could share with every listener and watcher tonight about spirituality, intuition, and the unseen world, what would that one message be?
Don't welcome it too much, because when you're welcoming and you're opening it too quick, that is when the issue starts. Learn, process it. It's a long time learning. It's not something overnight. It is a long time to process it and understand it. So take it as slow as you need.
Okay. Brilliant. All right, Amy, it's time for the Unholy Fire. Here we go. You know the rules. One word answers, no explanations. The first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, here we go. Spirit or alien?
Spirit.
Heaven or reincarnation?
Reincarnation.
Psychic or medium?
Psychic.
Tarot or pendulum?
Ooh, Parrot.
Guardian angel or spirit guide?
Spirit guide.
The most haunted place?
Waverly Hills, even though I've not been there.
Okay. Dreams or visions?
Visions.
Demons or ghosts?
Ghosts.
Intuition or logic?
Intuition.
And one word that describes the afterlife.
The Meadows.
Nice. All right, Amy, you absolutely passed the unholy fire. A lot of people try and cheat. You did it brilliantly. Thank you. So, before we wrap up tonight, where can listeners and viewers find you, follow your work, learn about your services, and connect with you online?
So I'm on YouTube. I am here on YouTube, mainly on my paranormal channel now. So Empress, Amy Sparkle, Paranormal. And I'm also on Facebook.
Okay. All right. And Empress, Amy Sparkle on Facebook, they can find you pretty easily.
Yeah, there's no other ones with this weird name.
Okay. All right. Terrific. So listen, I want to thank you for joining us tonight and sharing your experiences, insights, your perspective on clairvoyance, spiritualism, and mysteries. So whether you're a skeptic or a believer or somewhere in between, conversations like these encourage us to ask questions and explore possibilities beyond our everyday understanding. So thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it so very much.
No, thank you for having me. I'm glad to explain as much as I can in the way of my understanding.
Absolutely. And for you viewers out there, if you enjoyed tonight's episode, be sure to follow, subscribe, share the Unholy Podcast wherever listeners or viewers get your podcast. And as I always say, dear viewers, dear listeners, stay safe, be aware, and beware, because sometimes the silence is the most terrifying thing.
You've just heard another chilling chapter of the Unholy Podcast, hosted by Doug Owen, author, investigator, and witness to the things most fear to name. For more real stories, cursed objects, and exclusive content, step deeper into the dark at authorDougOwen.com. Subscribe, share, and remember, some silences aren't empty, they're waiting.